Hi, friends. This is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about Stranger Things, Season 1, Episode 7, The Bathtub, and we're going to talk about it through the lens of Will Byers. So, Will is still in the Upside Down, and at this point, 11 is has been reunited with Lucas Sinclair and Mike Wheeler and Dustin Henderson, and they are all on a quest to. They know that Will is in the Upside Down. They know that he only has so much time there, and that they're under urgency to get him out. So they do everything they can to find him, and they're doing that now. They're all together, and then what ends up happening is very interesting. At this point, they're coming in from the area, they're coming in from their attempt to find a Hawkins lab, right? And they're going back to Mike Wheeler's house, and they're using their bicycles, right? And one of the things I was really impressed, as I looked back on this season, one of the things that really impressed me um, about all of this is just how powerful the Duffer Brothers paint this friendship group. They're very mobile. They have the ability to communicate over distances in the 80s. And what's amazing is, like, today, every time you want every time you want to ratchet up the tension, you take away the cell phones. You're like, oh, because they solve too many problems. What I thought was really interesting is the Duffer Brothers actually give the kids cell phones so that they can do long distance communication and manage many of their own problems, right? It's just, the Duffer Brothers are incredibly strong storytellers. So at this point, 11 and the three of the core four get back to Mike Wheeler's house and are intercepted by the Hawkins lab staff. And so this is the guy, this is the main experiment leader, played by Matthew Modine. And he is essentially the lead of all the experimentation at Hawkins lab. And he is like the nightmarish father figure of 11, and even in like a father figure that is a father figure but wrong in every possible way, right? And never really protecting her, only like kind of forging her into this weapon. And 11 now realizing, meeting these kids who have formed a very, very strong friend group, who are genuinely committed to helping each other, and have abilities to communicate, to move together, like to accomplish together. That they lean on their own understanding, they lean on their own intelligence. I'm really amazed by the core four, right? By Will and Mike and Dustin and Lucas. So Lucas, they get separated, and Lucas warns them. And at this point, the Hawkins lab staff catch up with the kid group, right? The D&D party. They catch up with the D&D party minus Will, and here we see the most impressive raw power display of what 11 can actually do. And she literally flips an entire van over over the D&D group, which is really fascinating. And then also what's really interesting too is when they show this, it's pretty clear that the people who were in the van probably died, right? Like, and that's another thing, is like they they do not, there's no kid gloves, right? They really are very extensively it's very extensive how dangerous, it's very real how dangerous the situation is for the D&D group, right? And so at this point, she flips the van, and they're able to escape. And then at this point, in order to get where they need to be, They actually finally, all three of the groups that are trying to return Will and Barb unite. Right? They go back to the Byers house, to Joyce Byers' house, which is an absolute wreck. And it was a little bit of a catch can normally, and now it's just even worse because she's been digging holes through the wall and pulling down um, wallpaper, and it's a mess, right? But at this point, all the kids come together. So it's 11. It's Lucas, Dustin, and Mike, and they reunite with Joyce and Hopper and Nancy Wheeler and Jonathan Byers, right? So all of the groups are together now. They're all on the same team. They're all in a position to unify their attempt to find Will. Now, at this point, to get Will, they decide that their best option, and they're correct, is 11. And so 11 needs to, go into the Upside Down and locate him and then kind of lead them to where he is, right? But she's unable to do this, and the reason why is because of the flip that she did of the van. So she gets the so they're like, and she explains, I just don't have the power for this, but there are things that can amplify my power. And she explains the bathtub, which is a sensory deprivation tank that they build at Hawkins High School. So they get a pool, they fill the pool with literally hundreds of gallons of water, and they then fill that with pounds and pounds and pounds of salt, right? Like a lot of salt. And then they build goggles for her in order to enhance her ability to find Will. And while that's happening, also Jonathan Byers and Nancy Wheeler rearm themselves. So they've been collecting these weapons. They get their weapons in position, and they are seriously getting centered to straight murder this Demogorgon, to kill this thing, right? And so they get all that lined up, and at that point, 11 actually goes. 11 actually is able to go in, and this is the first time we find this out. She finds that Barb is dead, which is very, very sad. And she finds that Will is in his fort in the Upside Down. And I did not understand this, that the reason that Will was able to survive and Barb was not, was that he had this fortress, like his fort, as a place. The other thing is, I really believe it's the Dungeons and Dragons thing, right? He knows what a monster is. He knows, he has some sense of there being other realms, and how to have some protection within those realms, by anchoring himself with something from the real world, which he can kind of manifest on this alternate dimension. And so at this point, finally though, the Demogorgon finds Will in his fort, and that's where this episode ends, and with Will found, but now needs to be rescued. Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion, nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.